Welcome to Unbound, the podcast with Beth Curry, author, storyteller, and survivor. This is where books meet real life, where Beth reads chapters from her work and breaks free from the traditional audiobook format, diving deeper into the personal experiences, lessons, and liberation behind every page. Nothing is off limits. Let's get unbound.
Hello, welcome back to Unbound. I am your host, Beth. Today, we're going to look at my mom through someone else's eyes again. But this time it's not family. It's a friend of hers of over 40 years. Her name is Doreen. My mom nicknamed her Maddie. So something I've discovered, and I kind of knew this. It's not so much that I discovered it, but friends know parts of the people we love that family never fully sees, right? Friendship isn't obligation. It's choice. It's the relationship where you can be versions of yourself that might not emerge anywhere else. I even know I'm a different person with specific friends than I am with family members. And even who I am with one friend, I might be completely different with another. I've shared this in previous episodes about some of my decades-old friendships as well. I've elaborated on that. Chapter 26 in the book is called My Sweet Maddie, and it's about the side of my mom that showed up in friendship, the creative storyteller who made up elaborate backstories for strangers in the mall, the loyal confidant who turned her friend's painful divorce into a detective adventure. All right, Mom, way to go. The woman with a mischievous streak who drove around with a PA system harassing teenagers about their shoelaces, we think. I never knew about most of this because this was Mom's world with Doreen. Their private space where play and imagination and support all mixed together in ways that were just theirs. I'm so grateful to Maddie for her contribution here. Obviously, she's been in Mom's life for as long as she has, and that meant by default she and her girls have been in my life as well, and I love them. And I just want to say that, we're not close or anything because, it was Mom and Maddie, but lots of memories there, really good memories growing up and stuff, and even in adulthood. I'm just going to talk about friendship, creativity, the versions of ourselves, we only show to certain people, and what kind of sticks around when the memory goes away, but the emotional connection does not. This is chapter 26 in the book called My Sweet Maddie. Friendship offers a unique lens through which to view someone we love. Unlike family relationships, which begin with blood and obligation, friendships are chosen connections, voluntary bonds that form and strengthen through shared experiences, mutual understanding, and the simple pleasure of enjoying one another's company. In many ways, the friends who have walked alongside Mom for decades know aspects of her that even we, her children, have never fully glimpsed. When I reached out to Doreen Mason, Maddie, as Mom nicknamed her, I hope to capture some of these friendship memories. Their relationship spans more than 40 years, beginning when both were young women navigating careers, marriages, and the raising of children. What emerged from our conversations was a portrait of Mom as a loyal friend, a creative spirit, and a woman whose capacity for making even difficult times feel like adventures reflected a fundamental aspect of her character I had always sensed but never fully understood. When I first shared some of Maddie's memories with Mom, her reaction was immediate and joyful. "My sweet Maddie," she exclaimed, the name triggering an emotional response even before specific memories surfaced. "My dear friend," she added with a mischievous smile that momentarily transformed her face, erasing years and illness. "You called her Maddie," I prompted, hoping she would elaborate on that nickname I'd already known about. Mom nodded vigorously. "From that show, the detective agency." She struggled to find the specific name, her brow furrowing with the effort. "Moonlighting," I suggested, remembering the popular 1980s series. "Yes, with Bruce Willis," Mom confirmed, her expression brightening. "Maddie was the woman detective, Sybil Shepherd." The precision of this memory, not just the show but the actress, suggested this had been significant to her, a shared reference point in her friendship with Doreen. "Bruce Willis has dementia now too," I said gently, watching her face for a reaction. Mom's expression changed, a flash of sadness crossing her features. "Does he?" she asked, her voice softening. "That's too bad." She paused, seeming to process this information. "We're in good company then." she added with unexpected wryness, a glimpse of her characteristic humor shining through the haze of her condition. This moment of self-awareness, rare and therefore precious, caught me off guard. Most days, Mom doesn't acknowledge her condition directly, experiencing her memory loss rather than recognizing it. But occasionally, these flashes of lucidity emerge, reminding me that somewhere beneath the confusion, she understands more than she can consistently express. Doreen mentioned that you two would go to Oakville Place for lunch, I said. She said you'd sit there making up stories about strangers walking by. A slow smile spread across Mum's face, recognition dawning. Oh, yes, she said, nodding. We did that. What kind of stories did you make up? I prompted. Mum's expression brightened further as the memory took hold. All kinds, she said with a chuckle. But she was unable to provide any, so I asked her about a woman with all the shopping bags. Secret agent, she proclaimed. On a mission, I finished. Do you remember the businessman with the fancy briefcase? Running from the law? She laughed as I spoke, momentarily embodying the creative storyteller she had once been. We had such imaginations. Did you ever plan to write these stories down? I asked, remembering Maddie's mention of a potential novel. Mum waved her hand dismissively. We were always planning things, she said. Most of it just for fun, but we had such good imaginations together. This creative side of Mom, inventing fictional lives for strangers in a mall, turning ordinary lunch breaks into story crafting sessions, aligned with qualities I've observed throughout my childhood. Her ability to transform mundane tasks into games, her talent for finding narrative threads in everyday events. Yet I had never known about these specific expressions of her creativity, these moments shared only with a close friend. The more sensitive aspects of Maddie's memories, her marital problems, the detective work they undertook together during Doreen's separation, elicited more measured responses from Mom. She had a terrible time, Mom said soberly. It was sad. She shook her head, leaving the judgment unspoken but clear. I just wanted to help her. By helping her collect evidence? I asked. A flash of the old mischief crossed Mum's face. She asked me to remind her. She said you would piece together torn papers from her ex-husband's trash. Mum looked at me with a slightly confused expression. Like a puzzle, I prompted gently. You'd help her put torn papers back together to see what he was up to. Recognition flickered across Mum's face. Oh, she said, nodding slowly. Yes, I think I remember something about that. She said some of it was just bills and advertisements, I considered, but some papers had more interesting information. Mum smiled vaguely. If you say so, she replied, clearly not fully recalling the details, but clearly reveling in their detective ways. Doreen told me you made a difficult time fun for her, I offered. Even though she was going through something hard, you helped her find moments to laugh. Mum seemed to consider this. That's what friends do, she said simply. Find ways to make the hard things bearable. Then her face brightened with a more recent memory. Maddie still visits me, you know. She came here and brought those chips I like. The plain ones, I asked, knowing Mum's longtime favorite. Mum nodded enthusiastically. She never forgets. Even when I forget things, she remembers what I like. This observation, the continuity of friendship, even as her own memory falters, seemed to touch her deeply. I didn't tell her that I gave Maddie a heads up. That's friendship, she added softly, remembering for each other when we can't remember ourselves. In this observation, delivered with the straightforward wisdom that has characterized Mom, I saw something essential about her approach to life and relationships. Her instinct, when faced with a friend's pain, wasn't just to offer sympathy, but to transform the experience, to find moments of play and connection, even in difficult circumstances. And now, as roles have shifted, she recognizes and values how Doreen continues their friendship by maintaining those connections to her preferences and pleasures. During a subsequent visit, I shared more of Maddie's recollections, watching carefully for signs of recognition. Mum's recall fluctuated. Some days the memory seemed accessible, while on others, Doreen's name triggered only a vague sense of familiarity without specific associations. Yet even on the hazier days, the emotional connection remained. She's a good friend, Mum would say, though she might not be able to articulate exactly why or how she knew this to be true. This pattern has become familiar throughout my conversations with Mom. The feelings attached to relationships often remain accessible, even when the specific incidents that created those feelings have become unreachable. Mom might not always remember exactly what she and Doreen did together, but she remembers that the friendship mattered and that it brought her joy. On a particularly good day, when Mom's recall was stronger than usual, I asked her what she valued most about her friendship with Doreen. She made me laugh, Mom said without hesitation. And she needed me. Not like family needs you, that's different. But she chose to need me. This distinction between family obligation and chosen connection seemed important to her. We had our own world sometimes, just the two of us. Nobody else would have understood. These private worlds we create with friends, spaces where we can be versions of ourselves that might not emerge in other contexts, are precious territories, especially for women of Mom's generation who often balanced multiple roles and responsibilities. With Doreen, it seems, Mom found a space where her playfulness, creativity, and talent for turning difficulties into adventures could flourish. Below are Doreen's own words about her friendship with Mom, written with the affection and candor that characterize deep connections. I share them here not as absolute truth, for friendship, like memory, is subjective, but as another valuable perspective on the woman my mother was, and in many essential ways continues to be. Memories of My Friend Kathy by Doreen Maddie Mason. Good morning, Beth. As you can probably tell, I'm not a writer. I love your mom and have had funny experiences with her. I can't remember what came first, either Amway or Brant Bible, but we developed a great friendship either way. During this time, I was employed at Faro with the help of your mom. We would go to Oakville Place with our lunch in hand. We would sit at the lunch area, buy a drink, and sit there listening to conversations of unknown others surrounding us. We would make up our own storyline of these people, hoping one day to compile these stories in a novel. Most of them untrue, but just for fun, on how our imagination would travel. During our friendship, I was having marital problems, and your mom was always there for support. In the process of separation, I had to collect information on my ex to make it look better for me in the court. This advice was from my lawyer. He would say, "Let's get him." The lawyer made things even worse for my ex and myself. Kathy would help me keep evidence against my ex. At that time, the ex moved into another bedroom in our house where he installed a lock on the door. This is when I developed the name Maddie from your mom. There was a detective show on television called Blue Moon, I think, Detective Agency. The female detective was called Maddie. I would find a way to get into his room to see what he had in the waste bin. Kathy would help me with torn up pieces of paper and put these pieces together to see what my ex was up to. We would follow him and his business partner. We were just like detectives and having fun during this time. I love it. I would bring into work information, and we would try to put together pieces. We had so much fun during this time, even though it wasn't a positive time for me and girls. Kathy made some of it fun. That's all for now, Beth, and if I can think of more events, I will let you know. I love this. As I reflect on Doreen's memories and Mom's responses to them, what strikes me most is the light they shed on friendship as a form of creative collaboration. Together, Mom and Doreen transformed ordinary lunch breaks into storytelling sessions, turned painful life transitions into detective adventures, and created a private world where imagination and play could coexist with support and practical help. This aspect of Mom, the friend who could make difficulties bearable through humor and creativity, complements the portrait that has emerged through family memories, where Jen recalled a mother who sang personalized lullabies, where Sandy remembered a sister who embarked on road trip adventures. Doreen reveals a friend who made even surveillance operations feel like fun. Maddie has remained a special part of my life as well. In earlier years, she was simply Mom's friend Maddie to me, someone whose home I visited, whose daughters I sometimes played with. I have my own treasured memories of time spent with her family too, including a paper route with her middle daughter and running into her oldest in the apartment building of someone I once nannied for who lived across the hall. These personal connections formed another thread in the blend of our extended family, those chosen relationships that enriched our lives beyond blood relations. Now, Maddie has taken on an additional significance. As Mom's cognitive abilities have declined, Doreen has become a living bridge to some aspects of Mom's history that might otherwise be lost. She carries memories that Mom can no longer access, stories that would vanish without her perspective. Her continued presence in Mom's life, those visits with her favorite chips, the persistent friendship despite changing circumstances, provides a continuity that feels increasingly precious, and her willingness to share these memories with me feels like a gift, a way of preserving dimensions of my mother that I might never have fully known or appreciated. In a sense, Maddie, with many others, now holds a dual role. She is both a character in Mom's story and one of its most important narrators. Through her recollections, I see not just the mother I knew, but the friend she was to others, the woman who existed in relationships beyond our family circle. And through our own continuing connection, I maintain a link to that aspect of Mom's life, even as Mom herself may no longer fully remember it. In the mashup of memories I'm collecting, each piece adds color and texture to our understanding of who Mom was and is. The memories shared by friends like Doreen aren't more or less accurate than family recollections. They simply illuminate different facets of my mom. As our conversation began to wind down, something unexpected happened. Mom's eyes suddenly brightened with a clarity I hadn't seen for much of our visit. Doreen had that old brown car, she said, the words coming out with surprising confidence. It had this speaker thing. A speaker? I asked, not immediately following. Mum nodded eagerly. Like police cars have. You could talk into it and your voice would come out outside the car. She mimicked holding a microphone. We'd drive around and say things to people walking by. They'd look around so confused. She laughed, a genuine laugh filled with mischief. Once we told some teenagers their shoelaces were untied and they'd all stop at once to check. This memory, specific, detailed, and completely unprompted, and possibly only partially true, took me by surprise. It hadn't been mentioned in Doreen's written recollections, yet it emerged from Mom with such vividness that I had no doubt of its authenticity. We got in a car accident, too, she continued, still riding this unexpected wave of lucidity. Nothing serious. Someone hit us at a stoplight. The seatbelt hurt me. She shook her head, smiling at the memory. Doreen was so mad, but I just kept laughing, couldn't stop. The more she got worked up, the more I laughed. These sudden, crystal clear memories, emerging without prompting after so many moments of vague recognition and confusion, reminded me of the unpredictable nature of cognitive decline. Like sunshine breaking through storm clouds, these moments of clarity come without warning, illuminating briefly what remains hidden most of the time. Just as quickly as it had appeared, the moment of lucidity passed and Mum's gaze drifted, her focus turning to something beyond my shoulder. But for those few minutes, I had glimpsed not just memories of the emotional truth of her friendship with Doreen, the shared mischief, the complementary personalities, the ability to find humor even in mishaps. These are the moments I treasure now, not just for the memories they preserve, but for the reminder that Mum is still here, still herself in essential ways, still capable of surprising me with what she remembers and how she remembers it. In the increasingly unpredictable landscape of her mind, these bright spots of recall are often like oxygen to me. Okay, so when I brought up Doreen's name to my mom, I wasn't expecting fireworks. But apparently her brain keeps some sort of a VIP list or something, because the moment I said Doreen or Maddie, it was like, she lit up, like someone had reintroduced caffeine to her after like a 20-year ban. Like, it was crazy. The delight was instant. There was no hesitation. Yeah, she was just so excited. And, we talked about where the nickname Maddie came from and stuff. And, she can't remember a lot of things, but she remembered specifically Sybil Shepherd. Dementia is nothing if not selective. Talking about Bruce Willis with Mom because he has dementia now. And, my sweet, intermittently aware mother took the news and she paused and she delivered a line so deadpan, I swear she could have been on Saturday Night Live or something, saying that, we're in good company. Like that, I don't know. Like, ma'am, who are you today? Like, I can't even talk myself. I'm just, but yeah, so she rarely acknowledges her dementia out loud. So hearing her categorize herself, as Bruce Willis adjacent just about ended me. But honestly, it tracks, right? Like, this is a woman who's always coped through chuckling inappropriately in serious moments. And apparently that reflex survived the neural demolition. Then the stories, Doreen sent me these stories, talking to Mom about them. And, I never knew. I never knew this stuff. I didn't know she had this whole creative, slightly unhinged side hobby. I wasn't quite sure where I got it from. I thought, a lot of who I am, I know that I got from my dad, like the fact that I'm fluent in sarcasm and, I don't know, people who know my kind of disturbing humor. That all comes from my dad, but like this other stuff, like I saw glimpses of who my mom was. She could turn folding laundry into performance art, but I had no idea that she weaponized this talent in public malls with a friend as it's crazy. And that divorce espionage chapter of her life, which I absolutely missed because apparently I was busy doing homework or something unimportant. Doreen's marriage was falling apart, and instead of offering gentle support like normal people, my mom slipped into full detective mode. Now, I don't doubt that my mom was incredibly supportive. I know that much about her as well. But these two, like, they had operations, they had missions, they had tasks, breaking into his room like a suburban James Bond and stealing his garbage and handing it over to my mom at work like evidence bags. I think it's hilarious. My mother sat at a desk piecing together ripped documents like she was auditioning for a job at the CIA or something. Like, somewhere out there's a version of her who would have worn trench coats, unironically. But yeah, like Doreen saying that, she was going through hell, of course. And my mom was somehow making it fun. Like, I don't know. I love that. My mom, when I asked her about it and she got that mischievous look in her eye that she gets, the same one she used to have when she would mess with telemarketers, make the awful stuff less awful. That's what friends do, right? Doreen's still showing up for her too. I don't know how often she goes, and that doesn't matter. She's still going. And, that completely matters to me. Yeah, my mom forgets chips exist, but the moment the bag appears, she lights up like a damn Christmas tree, right? So Maddie took her chips. I took her chips the other day, and she was pretty happy about that. And actually, she remembered Doreen at that point when I handed her the bag of chips, and she wanted to open them then. And I said, that's fine. And she opened them up, and she said, my best friend Maddie brought me chips. So she remembers these things, and I love that. The funniest moment, though, out of that whole conversation, out of nowhere one afternoon after an hour of slow, uncertain recollection, she snaps into this HD quality memory mode announcing about this car and this PA system thing. And, like this car had an actual public address system, like an ice cream truck, but like unhinged, driving around town. Like, I don't know, I don't know if that stuff happened, if those specific things happened. I vaguely recall this car, now that I think of it. But I don't know, I don't know if the things Mom said happened with it happened. I know they had a car accident because I remember I was really, really scared that day when I found out, even though my mom was fine. But dementia likes to keep me on my toes. So, Mom casually mentioning that fender bender and laughing, and I don't know, saying that Doreen was raging and she was just laughing. I don't know. These flashes, like the humor and the stories and the ridiculousness, they show me parts of my mom I never really knew existed outside of like what I had seen. So I love hearing about that. The parts that make me think, you were absolutely someone's chaos friend. It brings me so much comfort, because dementia scrambles the timeline up and it locks away details, but it hasn't erased who she was or who she is. This fun, chaotic, very loyal version of her comes out when I least expect it. And Doreen taught me something. Friends hold the memories when we can't, and friends bring the chips, and friends make disasters tolerable, and friends come equipped with a PA system, I guess, and zero shame. I love that version of my mom, and I'm kind of holding on to it. It's still brand new to me. The detective, the storyteller, the one who laughed inappropriately at car accidents and cheered her best friend through hell. Dementia can take a lot, but it's not taken that. So yeah. And before I wrap up here, I just want to thank Kyle, Trey, Remy, Aggie, Karen, Bill, Kelly, Elaine, and James for supporting the show this week on Coffee. Your support makes this possible. Thank you so much. I keep saying it. I give away this work for free because I think it needs to be accessible to everybody, regardless of their circumstances, because I want these conversations to be had. I want people to learn things, hear things that matter. But there are real costs involved, and I'm taking those on myself. Audio engineering time, background players, hosting, an editor. Like, I've got it. But I'm just going to say, if you've gotten value from Unbound and you can, please consider supporting me at ko-fi.com/Unbound podcast. Every coffee keeps this going. Any amount, you can subscribe. You can donate once. I talked about Aggie a while back. Aggie sends me $2.75 after she listens to each episode, despite the fact that I know damn well, because she's 84 or 85 years old, she needs that money more than I do. No pressure though. Honestly, guys, I have to say this stuff. I don't necessarily like it, but I definitely enjoy thanking and naming my supporters. Thanks for listening to Unbound. If this episode resonated with you, if you want to chat, further conversation, join the Facebook group. Discussion happens there sometimes. Contact info in the show notes, support info in the show notes. I'm here if you want to chat. If you want to talk to me, I'm here. So that's it. I will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Unbound with Beth Curry. Join the conversation in the Facebook group or visit author.bethcurry.com. Want to support the show? Head to ko-fi.com/unbound podcast. Until next time, stay unbound.